Hey guys, this is Krista from the Moratorium. Do you like grisly gore and mysteries? Of course you do. That is why I suggest you subscribe to my blog, Suspended Animation, Dormant Stories Waiting to be Told, where we at the Moratorium offer a number of lurid tales from axemen running around New Orleans to phantoms in Texarkana. And if you're feeling especially generous, head over to our Patreon, where for just a couple bucks a month, you can help the Moratorium grow. And that would be pretty kick-ass. And remember, long live VHS.
Space. Between her frontiers. This is the voyage for a space girl and the twins. Her 2-hour mission, to surf a comet and find new worlds, to suck the life juice out of all Earth beings. Her boulders go where all men want to go. Space boobs coming right at you. Space boobs by Matilda May. But don't you dare to get too close to her. She'll suck the life force out of you. Cue the music.
And in 3, 2, 1, I already forgot it.
You will be soon to speak as a giant, or like all the others, dead.
You think I imagined all of it, don't you? You think I'm insane?
That's feng shui.
A match made in a bathroom. Just floating into the void. I need to suck on some Lifeforce today.
I need a whole heaping helping of.
It's called coffee.
I tell people all the time, I would not be standing upright if it wasn't for coffee. Let's hear it for coffee.
Oh, God.
Welcome to the Coffee Cast. That sounded like you were just beating off. Maybe you should
I stopped doing that. I looked at the waveform and I was like, oh, that's going to be definitely construed wrong.
Since we're watching a fully naked lady for quite a bit of time on...
Yeah. Let me just say something right off the bat. Everybody is horny in this movie, and it is weird when British people are horny. You know what I mean? Because they're like so proper, but then they're just like turned on because there's a big booby woman walking around everywhere.
Big booby woman.
Do you have any statistics on any of that? Because
on her, figure?
Well, no. Okay. Although that would be helpful.
What's the numbers?
I'm just going to guess 35. No. 37. 25. 38. No, I don't know. I saw a figure that said she was naked in 90% of her total screen time.
Yes.
Which that checks out.
Well, I mean, they threw a terry cloth over her near the end, right? Or something.
Yeah, she had like a ratchet strap for a bra or something. And then she's wearing that kind of gown that does not stay on for very long in that cemetery scene.
Yeah, that's just like wax paper, if anything, right?
Yeah. Like butcher's paper?
Yeah, sure. I think you're saying she's a piece of meat.
Let's try to, I think this is probably doomed to failure, but let's try not to just say boobies every 5 minutes, okay? Let's try to control ourselves.
Can we get it out of the way now?
Yeah, exactly.
Booby. Booby, booby. Booby.
I think that I was surprised at how little, they remind you that she's there and naked every once in a while, but there's not as much of it as I thought. What do you think? Because I remember basically seeing her the entire movie. We're just talking about the nudity right off the bat.
There's a lot of trivia on this film, by the way.
Yeah.
But it did give an entire time that she was on film, and it was a lot less than I expected.
That's what I thought.
There is an uncut version that was released in the UK.
Okay. So we need to talk about that too. Can we just go ahead and introduce ourselves and say what we're talking about?
Sure. Yeah. So nobody has any clue what we're doing.
Just in case someone started the podcast on this episode. But if they did, they probably should know what we're talking about just from describing it.
Yep, you're right. welcome to the moratorium.
Please, welcome.
Welcome. Come on in. We're finally getting off of our movie marathon. I think I just called it Summer Movie Madness because I just...
Yeah. What was that all about?
Oh, that was just about me watching a bunch of movies and forcing you really to listen to me for 2 hours straight.
I don't think I watched any of those movies.
Nope. I don't think you did. But I used it as an excuse to watch a ton of bad movies, and not necessarily that they were all bad, but...
Right. As if you needed one. But
I thoroughly enjoy watching subpar movies. There, can we say that?
There, I said it.
That sum it up?
I said it, and I'm not ashamed of it.
All right. I'm Tim Kornman.
Oh my God. That scared me a little bit when you did that.
And with me as always is Jason Walker.
Hi. I kind of shook an ice cube out of my cup when you startled me.
Is that a euphemism?
Oh, yeah.
There is a lot of trivia on this movie, though.
Lifeforce.
We are watching Lifeforce, which has been on our list forever, and we've been talking about it a lot lately because we covered the Golan Globus, the Canon Corporation.
Oh, man. And their greasy fingers are all over this movie. All over it.
All over it.
I have watched this movie recently, and I've watched it in total several times. Look, I'm not proud of it. But I watched it a lot from the ages of 13 till probably, 18 or 19. And then maybe once every couple of years or so.
Okay.
But I have watched it a couple of times in one night. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I know the movie pretty well, and a lot of the scenes that they added for the director's cut are really helping out the exposition. You know what I mean?
Okay.
This movie is based off a book. Can't remember the dude's name. Colin
Wilson.
Colin Wilson, called The Space Vampires. I have not read the book.
I was going to ask you that as my next question.
No, I've never read it. I'm in the process of finding a copy of it.
Okay. Which I guess they butchered the hell out of for this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's called Space Vampires. I mean, like you said, this is a Golan Globus movie, and man, it feels like one because it is like a multi-million-dollar exploitation film, basically. I mean, like we said, and probably will repeat, they're titties a-bouncing everywhere.
Titties abound.
Just from one character. There are other female characters. I love the look that the other female astronaut gives them when
he's like, she's perfect. And she's like, excuse me? I've never seen anything so perfect in my life.
She's basically just like rolling her eyes as hard as she can in her spacesuit. And that's the thing. That guy, I mean, we'll talk about it again. We need to probably set it up a little better. But that guy, that British astronaut, no, he's American. He says, she's perfect. I've been in space for 6 months. And I think she's absolutely perfect. And she's like, hey, I'm over here too. You know, it's not like you haven't seen a woman.
That's right. You called me sugar tits last night, bitch.
Exactly. Everyone is just a monster in this.
I laughed so hard, and I watched that scene twice.
Okay, we probably should just
let's start the movie and continue talking with Noah Bounds.
Yes. Whatever. Yes.
Whatever I said.
Whatever that means. Yeah, so it starts off with some narration and a bombastic soundtrack from Henry Mancini.
In the trivia, it did say, since I brought it up a second ago, Tobe Hooper's director's cut was 2 hours and 8 minutes long.
Yeah, that sounds right for the version that I watched.
Okay, so then the movie was cut down to 1 hour and 56. But it says most of the scenes that were cut were that of the spaceship and...
Yeah.
Are they just doing exploration on Halley's Comet? Is that what it is?
I guess. Unknown.
Okay.
Before we start, this plot is like on shaky legs to begin with. So yeah, it's like a joint British-American expedition, but I guess Yeah, because later on they have like a framed picture of... Edmund Haley or whatever on the wall in the spaceship. Isn't that weird?
That is weird. But that's not actually in the original book. From what I was reading, that this was Tobe Hooper's his idea to make it around Halley's Comet, because this came out a year before Halley's Comet was supposed to make its trip. So it's kind of like,
I see.
Connected it all together.
Even that is like, it had a pretty dismal opening. I think it cost $25 million and made like 11.
Yeah, it didn't do well.
Halley's Comet enthusiasts didn't show up.
So they find a spaceship that's just kind of lingering around with Halley's Comet.
It's in the tail of Halley's Comet.
That's what it says, but doesn't it look like it's in the picture they show? It looks like it's in front of it.
It bops in and out. Yeah. It kind of like, I'll be back. I'm just going to tool around out here for a little while.
So, but they describe that they have found this ship.
Yes.
It is now measuring 150 miles long.
Yeah, it's gigantic. And it looks like a
toilet brush.
A little bit, yeah. I don't know if it was John Dykstra. Someone said that they modeled it after an artichoke.
Yes.
So you tell me, does it look like an artichoke to you?
Well, I think that's why they were talking about the flowering bit. So we see later that the tail end of it kind of opens up like a flower, right?
Right, because they go and investigate. They get on their suits and get into that ship, and it looks like a butthole. You know what I mean? It looks like they are entering. And
is this not a episode of Rick and Morty? I think it is. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They said that they cut this down, and granted, they're wanting to let it seem like this ship is just enormous, and they do. The outside shots do not give it justice that it's supposed to be 150 miles long.
Yeah.
But them being toted around on wires and their spacesuits is just...
Right. It looks silly.
It looks very silly.
The set looks like... That's the first clue. I was like, oh, brother. Like, I think Golan Globus wanted, Tobe Hooper to be like, he's like their little Spielberg, but that set looks awful. It looks like something from Galaxy of Terror.
Yeah.
If Corman had just a little bit more money, that's what it would look like. I mean, I guess for $25 million, there is a ton of shit that goes on in this movie. I mean, like, it's canon, so everything explodes. They have all those, like, zombies at the end.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead, but
superimposing them for so long in their spacesuits. Yeah. Now, there's a little documentary, a making of, and I'll put a link up on the website that talks with Tobe Hooper in the making of this.
Yeah.
And he does refer to himself as Toby.
Okay, good. Can we just get that in writing? Yeah.
He recalls a conversation where he was talking to Menachem, and he said, "Nah, we need boobs. And blow up."
Yeah.
But no, he said that in making this scene of their spacewalk, that they were in this giant stage set.
Yeah.
They were hanging 40 foot in the air.
Oh, yeah.
And they were dangling. And so the minimal movements that they were doing were because they kept getting sick.
Oh, yeah. Like full on puking.
They were thrown off balance. They would be like dominoes. They kept running into each other.
God, and just being in that big old suit, all sweaty, and that must have been awful.
Awful. They spent a lot of time trying to film this, and what they got was jack out of it.
Yeah, it looks horrible. So I am looking at that opening scene where they're all floating through there, and man, they're trying so hard to rip off H.R. Giger in some of the that set decoration.
And they mentioned that, and they were like,
really?
They wanted to get a separation between H.R. Giger, and they didn't want it to look like it was an Aliens ripoff.
Well, they failed.
Yeah.
Because it totally does.
Now, I dig, they come out in the opening inside the spaceship, and there's just, is it because of weightlessness? You have all of these bat vampire creatures just kind of hanging around. They kind of just look like, Halloween, bats just hanging there.
Like you got from Halloween Express or something.
Yeah.
This movie does not waste any time. This is 5 minutes into the movie, and they are already floating into they're like given a spaceship a colonoscopy or something. But I remember those like floating, like kind of carcasses being scarier than that. And they really just weren't. I mean, it was cool looking. Also, he says there's hundreds of them. There's probably a dozen. And then she says there's thousands of them.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what you guys are looking at. Yeah. Or is there like a hallway that's cut off?
They're looking at different screens.
It looks like there's 8 of them. I'm watching it again. I'm watching that scene right now. I'm going to count them.
1,
you go on. I'm going to count how many
3.
Dead vampires there are. And also, wait a minute, these guys do sound like dumbasses. Even Steve Railsback is like, when he's floating through, he's like, I think I've been here before. What?
Oh.
You are an astronaut, sir. Keep it together. You have had way more training than,
There were a couple of things that he said that seemed like they were trying to, like a dreamlike sequence of, I don't know.
Yeah, they did want it to seem dreamlike. And it does. And I was thinking about that too. Like, how hard is it to do no gravity? You know what I mean? Like, all he'd set up in that narration is that they do have gravity in the ship. Like, so basically he's saying Tobe Hooper didn't have enough money to make everybody float, so we're just going to put in some narration for, pennies and tell you that, we're not doing the anti-gravity thing all the time.
Right.
So that one guy says, oh boy.
Oh,
again,
boy.
You have had hours of training for this.
Well, granted, if they were going to, if we knew their real mission.
Yeah, they didn't expect to be like floating through a butthole and looking at space vampires. You're right. Oh man, they're so horny. I absolutely love when they find Matilda May.
They come out through the prolapsed anus into this opening where they see the 3 space vampires.
Yep.
Now, these little sarcophagi,
sure.
You want to say that? Oh,
yeah.
That they're encapsulated in. Does it not supposed to seem like there are thousands of these?
Okay, that's a big question.
Like around?
Maybe if the scenes had been like kind of spliced together better, her saying there's thousands of them, she could have been talking about that giant, like, it's like a crystal
cathedral of...
Exactly. Okay, so the first ones that they see that are floating around, he says they're desiccated, like they're completely drained of fluids. Right. Did those 3 vampires suck the blood out of all the other ones in order to stay alive? What do you think?
I believe so. I don't know if it was from the behind the scenes footage and they kind of explain a little bit. It was they were kind of feeding off of each other.
Okay.
And they could only do that for so long. I guess in that wide shot, when you see them in those crystal sarcophagi, there are a couple down below that look like there's
people in them?
that there are bodies that are just desiccated.
There's another scene towards the end of the movie where they show the interior of that ship again, and you get a real good look at like 5 or 6 of them that are not, they just look to be human. I was a little confused about why sometimes they're these giant space vampires with wings and shit, but they appear to be human, and it never really answers to satisfaction.
No, we get a glimpse of this, the bat transformation later, which I thought was pretty badass.
Oh, yeah.
Granted, this is, 1985? Yeah. Is that what we said, you know? But we've seen some spectacular special effects.
Yeah.
But he wanted to keep it...
under budget.
But some things suffered.
Right.
I'm not going to lie, all of this space shuttle thing looks like it's a cardboard cutout flying over the top of it.
Yeah, and then London later on, it's just obviously a model, but...
Oh, yeah.
When they're running around freaking out, having the, like, apocalyptic zombie scene, we'll get to it later, but that's just a backlot. That's just one street that they are, like, lighting up, and...
They actually did a pretty good job in some of that special, behind the scenes footage thing.
Yes.
Shows how that they filmed that. And there's a park, I believe, that is a scale replica of London.
Oh.
And they were allowed to film in this, and they constructed certain buildings that they would destroy, and that they paid to be there and film this.
Right. Yeah.
And then they superimposed and did a lot of green screen and blue screen shit to get, the effects of just mass hysteria on the streets. And I love
it looks cool. I love just the random explosions, and the guy, Falada, the doctor, there's a scene later on where he's just looking out from his office on like the chaos, and like there's just smoke everywhere, and everything's got like a kind of dull red tone to it. It looks very cool. Oh my God. The end of that scene where they find the 3 vampires, the girl and the 2 guys, they are already have their hands on her crystal, wanting to like dislodge it and get her out.
Oh yeah.
Like we are definitely, we are for sure taking her home. I don't care about these other 2. By the way, those 2 guys, one of them is Mick Jagger's brother. I don't know if you saw that.
Interesting.
He's the guy with the wavy hair. And then the other guy who's kind of younger, that was supposed to be Billy Idol.
Yes.
So that kind of ends that first little bit where they have got the specimen bag, which is just a net, and they are like, let's get this girl to Earth immediately. When that fades out, I had a question about, did you see the scene where they send the other shuttle to go and check on them because they haven't communicated?
Well, I think that they lost communication while they were near Halley's Comet.
Yes.
They've been missing for a while, and the shuttle just kind of appears floating in space. Right. And they were like, oh, well, hey, look, I guess it's coming back. Well, what trajectory? I'm like, well, it's kind of spinning out of control.
I don't know. It's all messed up. Should we go and get him? We'll go and get him.
Yeah. They sent the Columbia up there.
Oh, that's right.
And they specified it was the Columbia.
I thought I was kind of drifting in and out, waiting for, some action. And I was like, why were they so specific about that? And then they had like stock footage of a shuttle taking off. But when they get up there, they said they're going to soft dock. I was like, whoa, hey,
I laughed.
Let's calm down, guys. Cause
we were just recently hard docking.
Exactly. All of them. Tucking their boners into their waistband of their astronaut pants. Those guys are cracking me up.
Soft docking and hard docking.
All right. So they go out, they rescue him. Looks very much like, Alien. I guess that's what they're ripping off a little bit, but you have to imagine that they were like, okay, we're going to do Alien, but we're going to do all this other bullshit too, I think they gave Tobe Hooper the book, Space Vampires.
Did he read it?
Well, exactly. He said that they had already made a deal before he even finished it, so I'm guessing that this is just the barest of
based on
hard quotes.
Can we take a quick break?
Yeah, sure.
Hey, freaksters and freakettes. It's Tim from the Moratorium. Do you like the sweet sounds of our witty banter in your ears every week? Well, head on over to our Patreon, and for only $3 a month, you can get even more. In the director's cuts of our movie episodes. On average, that's 20 minutes more of our wisecracking, jive-talking, and lip-flapping laughter straight to your earholes. Go to themoratorium.com and click on our Patreon link, and you'll find 5 awesome tiers with tons of goodies. You can also find our Teespring link on the website for even more awesome merch. Thank you for your support. Now on with the show.
Okay, so I have some questions that really this is going to cover like the next 30 minutes of the actual movie.
Okay.
So our space shuttle has gotten the space vampires back to their ship. They've collected the specimens. They've got I think they've bagged and tagged one of the gargoyle bat creatures they found, right? Brought them all back.
Like, I guess we got an extra bag. Do you want to just Get one of these guys or what? That's another thing that was so funny is just like, they're just automatically like, we have got to float into this thing and check it out. You know, that just didn't seem very scientific to me. But
well, if they have lost contact with Mother Earth,
yeah, right. It's fine.
This is what we came here to do, guys. Let's.
I can sense there are boobies in this thing, so let's go check it out.
My spidey senses are tingling. We get all of this later that Steve Railsback has basically set it up to destroy the entire ship.
I know that there is something in that scene that is extra for the version that I watched because I don't remember. It was just a lot longer than that.
So the Shuttle Columbia soft docks with it. This is hashtag soft docking.
Yep. I got softdock.com written down for a website to never visit. Remind myself.
They went aboard, and I think they said a line that everything has been torched, right?
Yes.
I mean, everything was been destroyed by fire.
Yes.
Except for
the VHS tape.
That huge beta tape that they pulled out. This contains kilobytes of information that we will need.
Meanwhile, it is burnt too. Like, it looks all charred and like, guys, I don't think that, I mean, this is before the cloud.
But we get this later in Steve Railsback saying that he saw what was happening. These vampires that are supposedly dead are not, and they're sucking the life force from the unsuspecting other crew members who can't seem to not get too close to them.
Yeah. The downfall is that they are just incredibly horny for Matilda May. They are drawn to her.
So horny.
I don't know what I would do in that situation, but it is laughable at a certain point. Like, guys, just try to keep some sense of professionalism and science.
Yes, you are on the clock. Where are your ethics?
Exactly. You're trained astronauts, people. But, you know, like that guy said, I've been up here for 6 months and she's looking pretty good.
Yep.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask you. Did you actually see the charred, like, skeletons in your version of it?
Yes, okay. I believe we go back and revisit it later in flashbacks.
When Steve Railsback kind of, like, describes what happened. Right. Okay. I was just curious. I don't remember this scene from the version that I watched years ago, so... But anyway...
my real question, though, is if Steve jettisoned himself out into the only life pod and set fire to the ship, the ship was floating in space, but they said that it was on an automatic kind of
trajectory or something. Like it was
somebody had set return to home base.
They can do that
before they left. I don't
think they can do that in 85.
He was trying to save the world from these things, but in turn, they were able to get the space vampires back to Earth well before he came out.
That confused me too. Like, wait a minute. Has he just been in the capsule in like the woods somewhere for like the sense of time in those couple of scenes? I could not figure out. Because, you're right. Like, he thought he blew them up. They say that the oxygen, whatever, just like, I mean, I guess a fire in a space shuttle is probably bad news, but I also love that did he have the desiccated bat thing? Did he start a little campfire with that thing? I couldn't quite tell what he was doing. He definitely burned a body with like a little like torch or something.
I don't know what kind of tool that was, but that was not the right tool to set anything on fire.
Right, and then walk away from. Like, if I was camping, I would sit there for a good amount of time making sure that actually caught. Steve Railsback, by the way, is like Dollar Tree Tommy Lee Jones, and I think he...
Yeah, I can get that.
He gives a eccentric performance in this, I must say. He kisses Patrick Stewart.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a timestamp.
Okay, we'll get to it.
In the trivia, there is a timestamp telling you where you can see that.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to see a lot of Matilda May.
Yep.
And there's a lot of trivia.
Yep. About her.
On Matilda May.
Yeah. You can go ahead and handle that because I know what it is.
It's kind of loathsome.
Yeah, it is.
But it says here, Matilda May, a.k.a. Space Girl.
Yeah, she's called Space Girl.
Has only 7 minutes of screen time.
I needed to know that. It feels like a lot more.
A lot more. Maybe because we kept pausing it.
That might have something to do with it.
Yeah. And boobs.
Yeah.
Most of these scenes, she plays totally nude. We know this.
Yeah.
Due to censorship rules that forbade full male nudity, Chris Jagger and Bill Malin, who were the male vampires, had to be filmed wearing flesh-colored socks over their genitals.
Right. Ken style, like Ken and Barbie. They're just kind of smooth down there.
It says you can see the socks if you are very skilled at freeze framing and advancing frame by frame.
I was not looking at that, but I did kind of feel like maybe that female astronaut should have been able to horn out on the... I mean, they're good-looking guys, you know, as long as the other fucking astronauts are like, whoa, yeah.
Yeah, you think she's perfect. Look at the hog on that
Exactly,
bitch.
And they all shut up. I would have liked that. At least it would have given some type of...
Yeah, balance.
The girls something to look at. Where are we at? I forgot. Matilda May's boobs.
Right.
Matilda May was a dancer, I believe.
And she is, she German?
No, she's French, I believe.
You're right, she is French.
She's only been in a handful of movies.
This movie actually has it stated as introducing Matilda May, but she had been in several productions before this.
I want to say that she was in a movie called The Boob and the Moon, or like, I'm not lying. I knew you'd laugh when I brought it up, but I think it is...
What's the French title for that?
I'm going to look it up.
Now, Matilda May was only 18 years old.
Ooh, guys.
When she was in this. Yes.
Gross, guys. Gross.
Said that the reason they chose the French actress Matilda May is because she was one of the few who was willing to strip completely. And because of her experience as a ballerina, it helped her move in disturbing ways.
Okay.
It wasn't just the boobs.
Right. Well, there is that scene that's coming up where, you know...
where there's boobs?
Yes. But, so yeah, where are we at? 21 minutes in, and this guy in the...
that is in the cheapest hazmat suit ever?
Yeah, it's basically just like... It is. It's just like a box on his head with some tubes coming out of it.
But is he just so transfixed on her, or
she's like bewitching him? I think it's, but
that's what I want.
But I mean, yeah, it's all a package. It's all working at the same time, you know.
So does she kind of like have a vampire pheromone that's just...
Yeah, well, she's just doing what any vampire does, is just kind of like, you know, hypnotizing them.
I'm saying when she's laying down and she's covered and he's looking in on her like, oh man, she is not showing near enough skin.
Yeah.
I've got to get in there.
Just make sure that everything's all right. And then I'll leave. It's like 2 a.m. Yep. He's like looking around like,
it is.
Maybe I could able, you know.
It is exactly 2 a.m. I didn't see that clock back there. He's like, everybody else is gone. I'm going to go in and check it out.
Yeah.
Now, I kind of dig the blue light.
Yeah.
Swirling thing. I dig that. The little electricity from the mouth and the eyes, you know.
Yeah, it does a lot.
As she's sucking the life force out of people. So space vampires don't need fangs.
Guess not. Just suck it right out like through a straw. The fact that she's 18 in this movie is like... Doesn't that seem crazy? Maybe not. I don't know.
Based on the behind-the-scenes photos of a very naked Matilda May chatting with cast and crew while waiting to film.
Oh my God.
She was very comfortable with the nudity and didn't bother wearing a robe.
No, she is French, but I'm just... I don't know.
In fact, some people joked that it was more awkward for them because they had to force themselves to keep looking at her eyes.
For sure. That would be very distracting.
Yes. Very distracting.
You're trying to make a movie here, people. There's a scene later where they have a girl strapped down that has had the life force sucked out of her. And it looks a lot like Return of the Living Dead when they just have that,
it does.
that torso of the lady. But her like the shadow of her boobs goes in like before the rest of her, kind of like Bugs Bunny style. That made me laugh.
So who is watching? Who is this guy? He's
the doctor.
This is Peter Firth.
Yeah, that's Peter Firth. Oh no, I'm sorry. That is not Peter Firth. That is Michael Gothard. Peter Firth comes in later.
Okay, yeah. And Finlay is the silver fox. Yeah.
Yes, who is a doctor who is studying death?
Yes.
You don't have to think about it that hard, but like, where are they at? Who is he? And why is he in charge of all of this? You know?
Yeah.
He's studying death. I mean, I guess. I don't know.
I laughed so hard, though, because Gothard runs in to try to save his buddy who's being zapped. The amount of doors that he has to run through to get to him.
I did not have time to look that up because that is a real thing. And I don't know if it's just like redundant, like safety protocols or something. But in the Relic, they had the same kind of setup where at the like Natural History Museum, that thing like runs through all of those doorways as it's like it just crashes through all of them, like 10 of them. So that is a real thing. I'm just not exactly sure why.
That is funny. So Gothard goes in to try to save him, but he's too late. She just kind of sucks a little bit of energy out of him.
She has a line to him that says, use my body or something. Again, I don't remember that.
Like, okay, yeah.
There is a line like that, and I don't know if she was supposed to, if that was meant to be like, he actually like had sex with her or something. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, he's depleted and sweaty. So
she escapes. And I think this is where we talk about her awkward movements and her walk going really slow, slightly duck-footed.
Yes.
I laugh so hard because you have a security guard just kind of sitting there, old guy sitting there drinking his coffee.
Yeah.
And the shadow of her boob coming at him.
Exactly. That's what I was talking about. It's like you see her boob enter the room before she does. It's hilarious.
That's hilarious. Love it.
Even the shadow looks great. But then, so Frank Finlay shows up, which I think we have talked about him because he was in the Three Musketeers with Oliver Reed. I'm sure they got up to some just disgusting big-faced man hijinks back then. So anyway, she escapes and, kind of bewitches. And that one guy, it looks like she kind of rubbed her feet on some carpet and then like zapped him, kind of like a static electricity type thing.
Which she has nothing
that would create again, she's nude. This is what's funny is he watches her for a long time walk away. She's just like walking through the park, and he can still see her. And I'm just like, hey, you're going to want to, later on they're trying to figure out where she's at. And I'm like, that guy just watched her walk away. You know what I mean? He should have just been like, hey, go get her.
Her escaping from the complex sets off a chain of events of people becoming crazed vampires, right?
Well, and the men start that too when they wake up and escape.
Yeah, right.
This new guy, this SAS guy, like hard quotes on him being an SAS guy. He does not look like a Navy SEAL or something. He looks like Art Garfunkel or something. But he's wearing a turtleneck, a leather jacket, and a raincoat over that. That has got to be hot.
But this is London, right?
I guess it will rain eventually, so he's prepared. That guy's name is Falada. And it just sounds like a Austin Powers character or something. Like when you put the first name, it's just going to say something obscene.
Here's something that I wanted to share with you. Tobe Hooper once revealed that in the early stages of filming, they waxed Matilda May's pubic hair off completely.
Here we go.
Thinking it would make her look less nude.
I read that and thought, what the fuck are they talking about?
It didn't.
I guess what they mean is like less human, maybe?
Maybe? I don't know.
More alien-like by not having any pubic hair? I'm trying to figure this out. This isn't funny. We need to get to the bottom of this. It's a delicate subject. She is French, though. I mean, I'm trying to justify it, but I think they have a different idea of stuff like that. Anyway.
Right. Especially with nudity in films and in television. We as Americans are into seeing gratuitous violence, and they shy away from it. And we seem to demoralize what nudity and sexuality is.
Whatever it is, they've got the right idea, and we're the ones that are being weird about it.
I mean, we're recording this in the nude ourselves, right?
Oh,
I mean, as I do every episode. It's just free balling.
Yeah. I'm filming mine. Hey, it's a hot summer day.
Go to my OnlyFans page to see my uncut video of recording the podcast from the waist down.
Yeah, doing podcast and OnlyFans at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Stacking that cash.
And by uncut, I think you know what I mean.
What? No, what are you talking about?
All right. So back to the movie.
Mm-hmm. So what's next? They find the girl in the park. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I skipped a scene. They're going to do the autopsy on the young army guy, and he's still alive.
Oh, yeah. I actually dig the animatronics.
Yeah.
I mean, it is cheap.
It looks a little embarrassing.
A little clunky.
Yeah.
But in the behind-the-scenes video, it shows them doing that scene, and there are so many puppeteers.
Oh, right.
This is 85. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, Poltergeist was 2 years before that, and...
The amount of work that went into animating that is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. So, again, he's got the power where he can, like, kind of draw people to him, so he's feasting on this doctor's essence.
That scene makes me laugh so hard because once he's drained him, he's just like, oh man, I feel great.
I know. The look on his face is like, hey, what are we doing, guys? You want to play frisbee golf or something? He's like, oh.
Did I do that?
Yeah, he's like, so go play cricket, I guess, is what they would do. So they shoot him full of drugs because he's freaking out because he's been recently dead.
Oh, yeah.
But then next, they find a body in the park. And again, Falada is partially responsible for that. I mean, this literally looks like it happened 40 feet away from wherever they're at. And then the SAS guy is questioning these two, like, pervy kids who were in the park doing God knows what at 3 a.m. He's like, did you see where she went? And I'm like, again... If we had just followed her, we would not... That woman would be alive. You guys are single-handedly responsible for that redhead's death.
All of the space vampires walk at a casual rate.
Yeah. If you were behind them in like a supermarket or something, you'd be like, oh my God.
Come on, I can't get around to get my Cocoa Puffs.
There, got past him.
I was just watching the scene where the 2 male vampires come to life.
Right.
That scene kind of opens cool because it just goes to a couple of guards looking in on them.
Yes.
And then a big explosion because Menachem said, we need more explosions.
Oh my God. I mean, that's when I see their influence is that everything fucking blows up in this. There's just like candy glass and explosions everywhere.
It made for a good effect of, well, how are we going to get these guys from their encapsulated sarcophagus to, come after these guards? Well, let's just blow it up, and then all of a sudden they're just standing there naked. That's great.
Yep. Done.
These guards unload on him. Both of them just shooting multitudes of lead into these guys.
Yep. Hunk a couple of grenades at him, I think, is what finally ends that.
I'm like, holy shit, why would they give these guards grenades?
They do look very like Barney Fife-esque. I mean, I think that all of this is like, we're Americans. We are used to just like nonstop violence all the time, but Britain is not like that.
No.
They seem afraid to use their weapons and only do it when that's the absolute last thing to do.
I guess that was the absolute last thing to do.
Yep.
Just blow the fuck out of them.
Yep.
It does nothing, which
Nope.
is the bullet holes and the blood. That was kind of a cool effect. That looked good.
Yep. And then all of a sudden, the guy from Clockwork Orange shows up, the teacher, and he is on screen. I love these two scenes. It's Finlay and the SAS guy and the guy from Clockwork Orange looking in on that guy that just came back to life, feasted on the surgeon. Turns out he's not doing so great. He's been locked up for a couple hours, and that is the gestation period for this, or that's just their time limit to get more essence.
I guess so. They have to be constantly feeding.
Yeah. And again, if they don't, they blow up like every other goddamn thing in the movie.
I love it. He runs towards the bars and just explodes onto them. That
was a cool scene. There are a couple of scenes in here that are very like Monty Python-esque. Like when he blew up on them and they're just kind of like dusting themselves off. That was very, that looked a lot like Monty Python to me. Yeah, that guy from Clockwork Orange just beetles. He kind of beetles his brow. He's got that one eye.
Yeah.
He's in this movie for a full 10 minutes before he even gets a line of dialogue. I don't even know who he is.
Steve Railsback finally comes back around 45 minutes
he
into this.
He is weirdly absent through the entire... I mean, he's basically the main character.
Yeah.
And you don't pick back up on him until, almost an hour into the movie. Oh, I'm sorry. They haven't even found him yet. That's what gives you that weird sense that, like, what is happening in time and space? Because to me, days have gone by. But maybe it is just, like, a couple of days from... the Columbia coming back with the space vampires. Great idea, guys. But yeah, he's in that capsule unconscious or I assume he's unconscious.
I don't know. That's a small capsule. Is that how big they are? Because when you see him get into the capsule...
oh my God.
His knees are in his chest.
Yeah, he's like in solitary confinement or something.
Yeah. Now, when Steve Railsback comes back and he starts explaining... to these heads of what happened.
Yep.
Why he set fire to everything. I don't know why he was the one that was left.
Well, that comes up later. That's kind of the through line through this whole thing is his connection to her. And she explains it to him a couple of different ways. And it is never not confusing because...
okay, because I didn't get the whole story, so now you can feed it to
if
me.
you want to hear it now, I mean, she explains it later when they finally... He's drawn to her.
Not just because she's nude and a sexy space vampire.
I mean, couldn't hurt, but no, not
but
just
he's like,
because
those
of that.
knockers!
Yeah. He turns into one of the sweat hogs momentarily. Well, the main sweat hog. Speaking of sweat hog. But anyway, budget Tommy Lee Jones. He has a big long flashback where they're back on the Churchill. They tell him that she has escaped. And he's like, well, I guess I just, did all that for no reason. Dumbasses.
Are you going to send me the bill for destroying everything?
They're being really nice to him.
Yeah.
She did just blow up like $1 billion spacecraft, but still.
It was the only way to be sure.
Exactly. It does have a lot of similarities. Also, he's kind of got that effect that the young guy did when he's around her. He's like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm rock hard over here. And they're all like sweaty. And by the way, his space hammer in that one scene, it really does. It just looks like a toilet brush.
Yes, it does.
In fact, I'm not even real sure what type of tool that is supposed to be.
No, it's a space toilet brush. That's all it is.
I guess.
In his flashback when he's walking around the ship and he just sees the rest of his crew, even in the pilot's chair, they're just all slumped over and dead skeletons.
He's just got done doing 100 push-ups and he's doing great.
When they go to get on the alien spacecraft, the door that opens up to let them out is in the shape of a coffin.
Yeah. Interesting.
There's a scene here where he's getting ready to lock everything down and get into the space shuttle escape pod. All of the doors in the Churchill have a window that looks like a coffin.
Yeah, you're right. And there is one scene where he is like looking through into the other room, I guess, where Space Girl is at. And yeah, they really like play it up on that.
It was subtle, but enjoyable.
It was a cool looking shot. And also everything in his flashback, the camera is kind of slowly moving. It's not weightlessness, but they're trying to kind of, simulate something. That the ship is kind of moving around. It's either lame or really cool. Can't decide. And yes, he did set fire to one of I think it's the dead vampire.
Yeah, I think so.
To try to blow stuff up. This ship's real roomy. It's got like a second story.
But the escape pod is 2 foot square.
Laughably small.
I'm sorry, 3 meters squared.
Please.
Is that better?
It is a British co-expedition. He's like, I blew it all up. You see her blow up. I mean,
right.
They take a lot of time explaining those coffins, which is kind of weird. Like, they're saying that radar won't penetrate them or something, or X-rays won't penetrate them. And it appears to be like a force field. And I think they do all that because we're looking at it and it's like, yeah, it looks like Tupperware, basically. We get it. But they're like, no, it's not Tupperware. It's like a force field.
And we have one scene where somebody reaches in through the force field. Yeah.
She allows him to put his hands through it. And there's some like kind of I mean, maybe she just, she's like, could I please have a brawl? Please.
Nope. Right now, I'm in the middle of the sex sequence.
Yeah, the cemetery scene.
Is it a cemetery? Is it Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios?
They did not scrimp on the red and blue strobe lights. Right. But those do a lot of work. I think the way that's set up does look very cool. I like that part where she kind of zooms in on him. Suddenly she's there.
Where you kind of see a superimposed vampire look when he...
It does look like Horror Express. It's like, man, that thing's $400, but it fucking looks cool as shit. I can put it in my garage. Yeah, that could have looked way better. But yeah, I kind of like that scene. I mean, obviously, but then she explains a little bit of it to him there, too. Is that she is giving him life force as well.
Yes.
He says, you're giving it to me. And she's like, well, you're taking it. So she's basically like, well, you're into it too. Don't try to tell me you're not. Maybe the book would cover some of this, but she basically says like, you've been groomed to be this person that is going to take us down to earth, basically. Heavy paraphrasing, but she basically says something like that. Because he says at the very beginning that he's been there before. Like something's going on, and they don't really do a very good job of telling you what it is. Or you're not paying attention because you're looking at 2 other things that are distracting you.
That are more prominent.
Like, what's the plot of Lifeforce? Can you tell me?
So all of that sex sequence was a dream.
Right. Wakes up screaming.
I have never seen so much sweat on anybody ever.
He is like layers of it.
When Frank Finlay kind of pats him on the back, I can just hear squishiness.
Yes, exactly. There's a lot of those dolly zooms too, which are very like Spielbergian. Oh my God, that guy from Clockwork Orange's name is Sir Percy, because of course it is. Did you hear I've written down baby sounds during the cemetery scene. That again, whatever they're doing for like the special effects sounds, and like Foley stuff. Every once in a while there is like a Wilhelm scream in there. It sounds like a baby, like those screaming goats, and like a Wilhelm scream, and they just kind of mix it all up together.
Great.
It's weird sounding.
Frank Finlay decides to hypnotize, with some weird Q beam that he's just like flashing in front of his face.
Yes. All British doctors are also hypnotists too. If you've ever learned anything from watching like British.
Oh, at least those who study death.
I guess that would be a helpful tool when you're studying death, is to be able to hypnotize people.
It's a prerequisite.
This does kind of feel like a X-Files episode, though, because that is something they would do. Like, I guess that makes sense. You know, that's how they, recovered memories and all that if people have been abducted, and maybe it is a real thing. I mean, I know it's a real thing, but maybe it's like capital S science instead of lowercase s science. They hypnotize him, and there's a lot of stuff that they just don't explain. He can see through her eyes.
Explain all of this for me,
They're
please.
linked somehow. And he sees her. She's already inhabiting another body.
Mm-hmm.
The girl with the curly red hair, which now there's already been 2 redheaded women now.
Were there? I didn't notice. This girl that she's inhabited, that is the one that they strap to the table later and explode, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because,
But it is weird that she looks identical in shape and hair and everything as I wonder if that was like a budgetary thing, because you only see the first victim in the park as a, like, desiccated, corpse. And then she has her freak out later. Oh, wait a minute. Now I get it. She just assumed her form, right?
Right.
Not that she's in her body. See, that's confusing.
It's so confusing because he says that she's traveling, that she's walking along. He can see this in his vision. He can see through her eyes.
Right.
As this redheaded chick now who is just roaming the countryside in England.
Yeah, seducing a guy feeding his goats or something.
And
I don't know what that guy was doing. He was doing something in his trunk. You know what I mean? Wait a minute. That's not even a...
Nope.
Tim, just stop.
Can't.
I know what you're doing.
Can't do it. But she seduces him too.
Feasts on his essence. But it's not like she becomes a, 60-year-old British dude.
If that's the same that we see later, that they found her body, right?
Yeah.
But that body is still kind of alive?
That, I don't know. I just saw that I have this written down. There is a line. I'm sorry. It's when they go to the park. And, like, the end of the scene, the last line on the scene is, what's the SAS guy's name? He's got a good name, but, he's like, now she has clothes, and then fade out. Like, oh my God. And that's what you carry away from looking at this, like, husk of a body that's just been drained of all their life force. Now she has clothes. And then he should have just said, damn it. Like,
damn it.
At the end. I mean, okay, if she's got some kind of weird telepathy or whatever, I mean, she could make herself look like anybody. Maybe she just picked that look because now they're in Britain and I don't know. We're going to have to get past it because it does not explain why.
No.
Meanwhile, Steve Railsback, while he is hypnotized, is doing a pretty good job of explaining all of this to these guys.
Oh, yeah.
And he doesn't even try to, she's just in a different body now, guys. Just
deal with it.
Deal with it. So he's able to read the license plate from the dream sequence. So now they've got a lead on where she's at. Again, they could have just followed her, but whatever.
I've got a question here. Now, I didn't understand where the sword came from.
Oh my God. I have written down, where did that sword come from? Got a lot of questions about the sword. But I have sword/umbrella stand. I was so confused about what that thing is.
I see it right here. Presented to the Ashmolean Museum by Captain Lee John Masters, 1856.
That is the extent of them explaining that thing.
Right.
It looks like a curtain rod.
Yeah.
Or it looks like something that would hold up like a tapestry or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it is cool looking, as a weapon.
Sure.
It almost seems like Finlay's a little ahead of everybody else, but he's not telling anybody anything. And it almost seems like maybe he ordered that thing. Like, there's...
Amazon one-day delivery.
Exactly.
Just in time.
A medieval curtain rod. But it is, like, sharpened into a point.
There is a blade on it.
But then the handle looks broken, you know? It has that, like, flap of fabric.
It's strange looking. Like they grabbed it from another set that was already used.
Right.
And it was partially destroyed. And they're like, here, we can use this.
This is from Gone with the Wind. Anything would have helped. Like, you know, this was some type of representation of some, like, mythological weapon or something. Something.
Mm-hmm. So they go to fly in Patrick Stewart.
No.
They go to visit him at this hospital.
Yes.
Okay. Who is he?
He is the director of this, like, insane asylum, basically. All of this is explained in a walk and talk with the guy from Clockwork Orange, Sir Percy, and the SAS guy. All it is exposition. They found the car, he's telling him. They have the old man.
Mm-hmm.
And
the old man was a patient of Patrick Stewart?
I don't think so. I think that's where they sent them when they picked both of them up. Or not both of them, because, oh my God. I think what happens is they see the license plate under hypnosis from Steve Railsback, but then they identify that dead body as a nurse, and she is the one that she worked at the institution.
Okay. This is the same nurse that they go to visit her at her home. And she is no longer being inhabited by Matilda May.
No, she is. Isn't she? I don't know. I'm confused.
Well, he's coming at her like he grabs her by the wrist. He's like, I know you're in there. And she's like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Oh, he smacks the hell out of her.
I feel like British people are just cool with that. Like, that is a normal conversation for you to just slap a woman every once in a while.
She wants me to force the name out of her. She wants me to hurt her. I can see the images in her mind. I'm like, oh my God.
He says she's a masochist, is what he says.
She asked for me to smack her around.
I feel like Toby Hooper is projecting a little bit. What is going on in his head?
And she has way too many clothes on. Get those off of her right now.
Yeah, you never see her nude. And what did that do? You know, I mean, the fact that he said she's a masochist and she wants me to slap her, that feels like that his character is saying that. Not because that doesn't turn up ever again.
I don't understand. Now he's making out with her.
Yeah, he kisses her too after he slaps her. That was very weird. Oh my God. And the guy's line, he's like, you know, you better leave if you don't want to see this. And he's like, don't worry about it. What does he say? Oh, I'm a natural voyeur.
Yes.
Like, ew. You guys are fucking gross. Meanwhile, I think they're trying to make her seem young. She probably looks like she's in her 30s, maybe. But
sure.
She has, like, her room has all these pictures of, like, David Bowie and, like...
and a big butterfly.
Yeah, it seems like kind of like a teenager's room, but I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into this. Or not.
There's a little bit of exposition with Patrick Stewart here.
Yes. Who looks exactly the same as he does right now. Looks absolutely no different than he does right now.
He's always been in good shape. This is the most hair we've seen on him in a long time.
I guess.
So who is Jeffrey Sykes, the child murderer?
That is a red herring. I think Steve Railsback probably did see that while he was under hypnosis, maybe.
Okay.
But in the end, they used that to kind of like draw... Again, this is very confusing. What Steve Railsback knows and doesn't know is...
a mystery to himself.
Yeah, he explains it after they find out, you know, they kind of do a little kind of bait and switch with Patrick Stewart. Because, spoiler alert, Patrick Stewart is being inhabited by this chick, Space Girl.
Right.
But they kind of do this little, you know, I think they're tricking him because they've known the entire time, right?
He's being very secretive, but I mean, Steve Railsback was wrong that it was in the girl, and maybe by kissing the girl, he knew exactly where
he found out
she was,
right.
that she was inside of Patrick Stewart all along.
Right, and they just forgot to tell us.
Right.
He also says Jeffrey Sykes, the child killer, and, he's like, he's in solitary confinement. He's been naughty. And then he kind of gives him like a Austin Powers like freeze frame. Like, what? He's been naughty?
That is actually in the trivia when they had him say that. I think the original line was, he's been bad.
Right.
And they got him to change it to, he's been naughty.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart suggested it.
That works. We're keeping it.
Oh, yeah, it works if you want to find the creepiest line read ever. Naughty. Railsback is riding him. When they jab him with that sodium pentothal or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
He's flopping around like a fish, and Steve Railsback is like fully like you give like your wife a back rub or something. You kind of like sit on her butt a little bit, and very weird.
Is this sodium pentothal that they're giving?
He said
him?
Pentothal and morphine.
So isn't that what they give to somebody when like a truth serum?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. That is only a movie thing. I have never known if sodium pentothal is a real drug. What do you think? Is it?
I'm sure. Maybe.
You should know this. I feel like this has been a test question for you at some point.
Right. That is exactly what they bring up on the cardiology boards is how do you get the truth out of their patients?
I just assumed that you would ask all of those questions like the minute that you're in. Like, okay.
Yeah.
I know we've got stuff to do, but I just have to know. Is there such a thing? Okay, this is a very weird scene with all of them in the room with Patrick Stewart.
I just wanted to know, why did they actually have to go see... They had to keep this ruse up going to see this psychopath in a padded cell just so they could...
He said he knew when they were in Patrick Stewart's office. I remember that now. Mm-hmm. They didn't know until they met him that she was inside of him.
Right.
Oh, I think he just touched his hand or something. When he made contact with him, he could see that she was inside.
I don't know. Every time I touch you,
think of you with
Sir Patrick Stewart, I think of boobs.
Just think of a big set of cans. Can you imagine Patrick Stewart with just like perfect breasts?
Okay. Now I can.
Cut this out.
As a picture that is going in my Photoshop file right now.
He is great in this, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I had my headphones on and had like looked away to write something down, and this scene gets really quiet when he's talking to him. And then he just screams out of nowhere, and I was like, holy shit. Oh my God. Startling.
You want to take another break before we wrap this up?
Yeah, sure.
Hey guys, this is Krista from the Moratorium. Do you like grisly gore and mysteries? Of course you do. That is why I suggest you subscribe to my blog, Suspended Animation, Dormant Stories Waiting to Be Told, where we at the Moratorium offer a number of lurid tales from axemen running around New Orleans to phantoms in Texarkana. And if you're feeling especially generous, head over to our Patreon, where for just a couple bucks a month, you can help the Moratorium grow. And that would be pretty kick-ass. And remember, long live VHS.
Are you watching the movie?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I just wondering, where the hell are we at?
Just right after they have brought Patrick Stewart in, and it's before the big kiss.
Okay, good. I just didn't want us to like gloss over that because there's more than that going on. Anyway, okay, we're there. So
I have a couple of things I wanted to talk about real quick. There's a guy by the name of Callum Waddell, who is one of the filmmakers who made the behind-the-scenes documentary called Cannon Fodder, The Making of Lifeforce, 2013.
Okay, yet another Cannon documentary.
This was for the 2015 Blu-ray of Lifeforce.
Okay.
I'm sure that other people already know this and have already seen this, but I have found it. It is on YouTube. You can watch it in its entirety as well.
Cool.
Looks like it's an hour and 10 minutes long. So I will be watching this immediately.
Absolutely. I think I will too.
And we will be discussing more of this, and maybe they have more answers to the actual plot of the film. But what we've come here to see in this movie, besides boobs, is massive carnage, which is getting ready to happen.
Oh, man. I mean, this is like when I said that it was just a really expensive exploitation movie. I mean, that is exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, and it just like ramps up and up and up. Everything's getting ready to go crazy. But we need to finish talking about this interrogation scene with Professor X and Steve Railsback because it gets nuts. I mean, okay, so Poltergeist was 2 years before this, right? This scene, he is interrogating Patrick Stewart, but he's talking to the girl through Patrick Stewart, okay? Right. He is like bleeding from needle marks because they have given him like 5 shots of all kinds of different things.
Mm-hmm. They brought him like 6 syringes of pentothal, that's what he says.
Yeah,
this is all I have.
It's like, hey, you're an astronaut, not a doctor. Should you be... So Steve Railsback is kind of interrogating her, and she's laying down. I mean, she is explaining the plot again.
Mm-hmm. And I'm still confused.
I know. So there's a couple of things that we can just say for sure. She says that she picked that form out of his mind, out of Steve Railsback's mind. Kind of like the yeah, exactly. But she says that it's his, like, the idea of, like, perfection or whatever, which, okay, fine. Which is very much like how they chose the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in Ghostbusters, you know? But then he's like, well, what was up with those, bat things? Uh-huh. And anyway, I think she explains that that's, like, their real forms.
Right. Something like that. It's like in 1 or 2 lines.
Right.
He's interrogating Patrick Stewart only to hear her describe all this through him, and they do a body switcheroo thing several times, and there's just shit flying around the room.
Yes, it looks like Carol Ann's bedroom.
Exactly like Carol Ann's bedroom, except it's all flying the same direction and attached to the same strings.
It's like Carol Ann's bedroom when the poltergeist is kind of like, oh, whatever. I guess I'll just make this thing float around over here. You definitely shouldn't brought in a sheaf of paper because that's going up too. And they're in a weird area because there's I don't want to get too into this, but there is a chandelier like kind of waving around. Like, where are they? They're in like a weird fancy tea room or something.
It was Sir Patrick Stewart's fancy tea room in the Insanitarium, right?
Sir Patrick Stewart. He is a knight. He has been knighted. And he just got slapped by Steve Railsback, and now he's going to get kissed by several times.
How much sodium pentothal does it take to get Patrick Stewart in the mood?
A lot. Like 4 or 5 shots of it. I mean, but again, to think that he's having fun doing this, which I mean, everything that I've seen and know about him, he's like awesome. But man, I mean, he really gives it.
So now they're transporting him back to home base or whatever, where Frank Finlay is, right? He's figured out by using this sword that he got off of Amazon Prime Day. This is
exactly.
This is what kills a vampire, is shoving this.
Yeah, a leaded iron is what he says.
Something like, I was like, you just gave him lead poisoning?
I think that, well, I don't know. Sir Percy got his neck broken and all of that too, by the way. They had one line that he got thrown up against a fucking like bookshelf and now he's dead. So he's not coming back. One would argue he didn't need to be there in the first place, but I don't know.
So I'm watching one of the cheapest effects that I didn't necessarily understand too much. It's like...
Oh, the Yeah, Patrick Stewart's body, and I guess that's why they had to kill 2 people to give her enough blood to show up.
I guess. So they're in the helicopter, and all of the blood is being drained out of the eyes and mouth of Patrick Stewart and this other body.
Yeah, just like
cheap effect. It looks like that was the paper mache head that Clint Eastwood made for Escape from Alcatraz.
Right.
It looked more real than this head.
It is not good. Not good at all.
And they stay on it for a long time. There's 2 scenes. Yep. One of it, the head's down. One of them, the head's up with the eyes open. I don't know. It's just cheap.
Yeah, it does look horrible. I do like that kind of gelatinous thing that it's kind of making. Yeah. I mean, the scene is badass. I love it that she's made out of blood.
Yeah.
Basically.
And she forms herself. It looks like it's a stop motion.
Yeah. Yeah. That blob.
Yeah. Blob.
Yep.
That turns into her.
Yeah. It looks a lot like the special effects from Poltergeist.
Yeah.
You know, kind of those it's just a bunch of matter. But yeah, when that starts happening, when it just cuts to Patrick Stewart and the blood coming out, you're like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
That came out of fucking nowhere.
And I like the helicopter pilot. They start to lose control because the helicopter pilots turn around and saying, what the fuck?
He turns around and screams. Like, again, you are like a highly trained military, you know? You're way too emotional to be flying a fucking helicopter. That's a model, too. That helicopter, kind of.
They're coming back to London on this helicopter. And I mean, it's already started.
Right.
So the alien spaceship has settled itself outside of Earth's atmosphere, basically opened up his artichoke umbrella thing.
Yep.
And has pinpointed a laser beam of some sort, right?
Yeah. The whole point of all of this is they're trying to find out where she is, where the girl, where the space girl is. And yeah, the artichoke is like sucking this energy from this big cathedral. In my mind, I'm like, well, let's check out that cathedral and see if she's there, since that's the only, you know, instead of just making out with Professor X to try to figure out what's going on.
But all of these people that are being killed by this zombie type outbreak, their souls are being sent to the cathedral, right?
Yes.
And they're being beamed up aboard the ship. So are they basically trying to drain the life force of the planet Earth to possibly reanimate their dead upon the spaceship?
No, none of what you just said is right. Because I'm watching Steve Railsback explain it right now. All of these souls from the chaos down there on the ground in that one backlot, all of those souls are being funneled through the girl into the spaceship. And it makes it look like, I don't think they're reanimating dead. I think it's to like power the spaceship.
The spaceship itself, it's a living being, and it needs a life force in order to... oh, man.
I don't know. Unclear.
Those would be all good plot points on a better movie.
Yeah. Now it is a full-on, like, 28 Days Later, British-style free-for-all. It's like a zombie free-for-all.
Yeah, the end is fucking nigh.
Yeah, but the end is still very polite. Everybody's wearing, like, you know, suit jackets and, like, there's a lot of corduroy and, like, everybody looks like they're wearing, like, a jacket that Donald Sutherland would wear. I don't know. There's, like, quarantine areas now because this is way out of hand. So they are going to talk to Kane is the guy's name that looks like Garfunkel.
Oh, right. Okay.
Oh my God. Mrs. Haversham, his secretary. They go to see this like Ministry of Defense guy. I'm not sure why. But they basically go in. He's a fucking mess too. And he fucking feasts on his secretary's essence. These two fucking dumbasses look at each other like, oh, you're going to get that, and then leave.
Yes, I saw that. It was just so strange.
And they almost do it kind of like furtively. Like they walk through that room. There's a ton of people in there, and they're never like, Colonel's a space vampire now. You might want to...
Hey, heads up.
Yeah. And they're kind of looking around like, we got to get the fuck out of here. We got a helicopter. But then they do like the, that like last helicopter out of Vietnam where they've got zombies running after them. And there's that one little scene where the zombie kind of like, they're hanging on to the landing thing, and he rips all the flesh off of his own hand and falls off.
Oh, yes. That was beautiful.
Like,
very nice.
Yeah, it was gross.
There were two zombies hanging off of the helicopter.
One they shot with a flare gun, and then the other guy kind of took care of himself.
Again, this is a military kind of helicopter, and all they had was a flare gun.
Yeah.
And another thing, why is there a flare gun on a helicopter? What does that
seems like if that went off in the cabin or something, that would be very distracting.
Big mistake.
So again, we're not going to like get down to every minute detail. Now they're at the quarantine area trying to get in to talk to Falada, I think, because he just called him up and said, "Hey,
Is Mastrada there? No, well, give me Falada."
Time to talk to Galano while we're at it. There's just a bunch of names, and his name is Hans Falada, if you need to know that.
Sounds delicious.
I don't know if this is true or not, but his name is Caine, and they originally wanted Michael Caine to be in it, and he refused, so they just still kept his name, which I thought was funny. This guy is no Michael Caine.
No, he is no Michael Caine.
Again, there's just more of Steve Railsback just saying we're a part of each other, and she wants to. She gave me a part of herself, and now she wants this part back. It just does nothing.
She wants to have my baby.
Yeah, maybe.
She does have some really cool like contacts in that have like a spiral. Yeah,
yep, they do look very good.
So Steve Railsback is in the zombie zone trying to get to her.
Did you notice that they like stay on that one zombie in like the kind of velvety tracksuit? Or just watching some zombie kind of try to get up out of the trash, And it was just funny. They just lingered on him for a long time. There's kind of a comedy moment where it's kind of an Evil Dead where that one zombie jumps onto the car and falls off and he's just got the arm looking at it like that was kind of.
And that was a fully animatronic wireless arm. They show this in the behind the scenes footage. And that was just that's something that I think the makeup artist just kind of put together and said, hey, why don't we try this? And they flew with it. And it was hilarious.
Yeah.
He pulls it off his neck and then, takes a moment to look at it like, what the fuck?
That was pretty funny. Then throws it out the window. Yeah, so now he's made it to where? I mean, I don't even know. Houses.
He's at the cathedral, is he not?
I'm sorry, yeah, the cathedral. And there is just a giant pile of like wiggling bodies.
Oh, yes.
I thought that was cool. It does look really cool.
Building this mass zombie scale is pretty damn cool. When we get to Finlay's like laboratory, if you haven't noticed the shelves in the background, they're all lined with those tan bottles, unmarked bottles of
chemicals.
Uncapped, unlabeled bottles laying around everywhere.
It's like we've had plastic lids for a long time. You can take those like corks out of there and pour it into something a little more. I mean, literally, it does. It looks like they're potions or something. Oh my God, my closed captioning cannot spell Falada's name. It has done it like 3 or 4 different. That was Fajada that time. And the H was capitalized for some reason.
That's great.
Okay, so he's killed Mick Jagger's brother with the curtain rod.
Okay, yep.
Garfunkel has traded his white turtleneck for a black turtleneck, but he still has the rain jacket. As long as you guys are keeping up on that. I kind of like this scene. Falada Finley Kind of turns into the weird doctor from Beyond. He's just got a big meaty face, and they just sprayed water all over, like petroleum jelly and water.
And gave him several bladders to make his skin bubble up.
Oh, and he has a weird line, too. He's acting very creepy in this scene. All the lights are off. London is in shambles. And he's just trying to be as creepy as possible.
It worked.
Yeah, definitely.
He's creepy.
Definitely.
So that was just all set up so Garfunkel could grab the mysterious vampire killer's sword. When all of those zombies kind of stand up and kind of come after him, they're kind of looking at each other like, hey, guys, you want to get this guy?
Yeah.
Come on.
It's like, hey, Tommy,
it's like nerd zombies.
Let's beat him up.
Yeah.
Very cartoon-like. I noticed that. There was like one like Horseshack zombie that was like, yeah, what are we going to do now? Or like a Eddie Deason or something.
Yeah.
You're going to get one of those. And
it's beautiful.
He says, here I go. Here I go. And then his like face bubbles up. It was very creepy. So, yep. That's it for Finley. His butt catches on fire and then his spirit escapes. But now Kane has the curtain rod.
Yep. He has the curtain rod. Did he go there to get the curtain rod to meet back up? Was this all a plan?
He told Steve Railsback that he's going to go see Falada. I think he just likes saying the name. And I think probably just because he's the only other one that knows what the fuck is going on.
She's trying to get Railsback to come back with her. I'm at the cathedral now. She says, get back to the genesis of our life form.
Throw up my hands. I don't know.
You have to read this book.
Oh, I will.
And tell us
I will.
Where they got any of this from.
I have a feeling it might be disappointed, but who knows?
When they brought Dan O'Bannon in and another guy to rewrite the script, there had already been 8 different, I don't know how different they were, but different scripts that they were going
and I
by.
forgot about that too. That does explain the alien thing, but yeah, it's a mess. It's a freaking mess. But also, I'm kind of surprised that this did poorly at the theater. I mean, if I had described this to somebody, it sounds like a 10-year-old came up with the script.
Yeah.
But it also seems like I'm going to call into work so I can go and watch this immediately. I mean, can you imagine seeing this at the theater? That would have been fucking fun as hell.
Badass. And like you said several times before, I mean, the last 20 minutes of this movie, there are so many explosions.
Insane. They blow up a double-decker bus. Everybody's on fire. So Kane has made it to the steps of the cathedral, and there's only one male vampire left. And he comes to the foot of the steps. For some reason, he's like accepting, all these souls are having to, somehow they're funneling them up to the ship. Who fucking knows? But he's just dressed like he's got suspenders on, for God's sakes. But he looks down at Kane. He sees Kane out of the corner of his eye, and he says, "It'll be a lot less terrifying if you just come to me." And I thought that was a cool fucking line. I have to use that in something. Because Kane he seems very, again, he is with the SAS, like they're like the British, Delta Force or something. And he looks like a big scaredy cat.
The British Delta Force.
Know.
I dig it.
But they're not, I mean, that's like Bear Grylls. He was like an SAS guy, They're meant to be like badasses. Anyway, so he kind of charges at this dude who is too busy air humping the blue energy. I don't know what he's doing. It looks very like unsavory. So now there is a cool transformation scene. This scene I thought was really cool, where he turns into the big bat thing when he stabs him.
I dig that. I actually really do. I mean, it was full on animatronic. It looked
silly.
Like you said, straight out of that $400 range at the Halloween Express.
His reaction to it is funny too. The way he throws up his hands when he turns into that thing. It looks utterly terrifying. But that sword is really, Falada was right. I feel like I should say falata vagina or something. Like, I don't know.
No, it kind of goes right with it. I've stopped myself 6 times.
Yep. So we're coming to the end. Now it's just down to Space Girl and Carlson. And another kind of poltergeist thing where he is looking at them from a kind of vortex, kind of like how they saved Carol Ann. Man, I was thinking of Sarah Lee.
I think I'm getting hungry all of a sudden.
I just started eating a giant pound cake while we were doing the podcast. But yeah, so they're making out again. Have they stopped making out?
Nope.
But
when they're on screen together, they have to be locked. Soft docked.
I don't. Oh, man. Again, do not Google that. My subtitles also call him different things every time, too. That time he was Canson. He says at some point that she loves him,
Mm-hmm.
Like,
they're meant to be together.
Right. And you kind of get the idea that, like, towards him at least, for whatever reason, I don't know if she's using him or, I guess it doesn't matter here in about 10 seconds because Carlson gets the sword curtain rod thing thrown down to him from Kane.
Mm-hmm.
Just in time, right before whatever was going to happen with them. Who knows?
A complete consummation of the relationship.
Talk about a boner killer. Just stab a curtain rod through both of you.
He subsequently killed himself,
that's
right?
What well, who knows? Now, again, unclear.
Now, how long did it take for Steve Railsback to become completely nude and get in the scene with her?
I think every part of his wardrobe was just tear away. Like it just had snaps.
That's it.
That spaceship thing is very cool looking. So they are run through with the sword thing.
Yes.
Their blue energy turns to red, and they are like rocketed up to the thing. Okay? The giant artichoke pod thing turns red briefly, and then it turns back to blue.
Okay.
Blue, good energy, red, bad energy. Okay?
Sure, yeah.
And then there's a little, like, special effect that is very unclear about what happens, but then the pod just kind of closes up and starts cruising back over to Halley's Comet.
So, what does that mean?
I don't think we should try to answer that question. I don't think we can answer that question.
So, who's piloting the ship?
For all intents and purposes, let's just pretend like the ship, has like a mind of its own, like a HAL or something that's piloting it around.
But that's kind of what I was thinking too, that the ship itself is a being.
Yes.
And absorbing this energy, because we can see the blue lights throughout the entire ship.
Yes.
That are representative of the souls of the people that were just swooped up and, I don't know, astro projected into the... Sorry.
Oh, you just wanted to say ass, didn't you?
I did.
Oh, God. Well, in a movie like this, I think it's just par for the course.
But I don't have any answers there, but
I'm going to try to find this book.
Are they dead?
I don't think so. I think they just got beamed up to the spaceship and they're just going to hang out. The ship is charged up now, Yeah.
They're
gassed up, ready to go.
So with the incorporation of Halley's Comet then, so this is going to be roughly coming back around in 70 years, is that correct? All right, you got space vampires. Where's their next stop? Are they going to go hang out at LV 426 and see what they're up to?
If I had to guess, that's why there were all those dead, winged creatures is, I think the Earth is one of their only sources of energy. I don't know.
And that 70 years ago that they may have come by Earth, taken a bunch of more life force. It wasn't enough to propel their species for the 70 years round trip.
Yes.
So give me a prequel to Lifeforce then. When would that be? And
like the turn of the century, I guess. Maybe you'd have like,
like Old West.
Oh, yeah, that would be cool.
Vampires,
or like
right?
Newsies. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, you could really go back and you just pick an era, and do another. That'd be actually pretty cool if they did like during the Salem witch trials or something, and now she has to her walking naked through like a medieval village or something. Her walking naked through, the Yankees go to the, it's like the World Series.
The World Series. She's the first streaker.
Yeah, she actually throws the ball out.
Yeah, she does.
Okay, that's enough. Well, I commend us for not being super horny in this episode.
As I start putting my pants back on.
Yeah. It's weird when your daughter walked in on you earlier.
Yeah. Oh, hey, just recording here.
Just the podcast. So I think we've just raised more questions than we've answered. I'm gonna try to find that book and I'll report back.
Sweet. I'm going to immediately watch Cannon Fodder.
Yeah, for sure. Ooh, I'm gonna watch it too. We'll talk about it next episode.
I think it's a good.
We'll do a little wrap up.
Yeah. All right, so let's just wrap up a little bit of trivia here with the last thing I want to bring up. According to the Blu-ray documentary, the alien spaceship was meant to be designed like a giant penis.
What?
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
The one thing that we all thought but didn't want to say out loud.
I knew it. We're going to have to backtrack on a lot of extra shit.
Sure. Our next episode might just be wrapping up Lifeforce.
There's going to be a lot to wrap up. There's so much information about this movie. And I cannot, like I said, I'm going to watch Cannon Fodder right now.
Me too.
We'll report back. All right, so let's wrap this bitch up. Jason, do you have anything else to add about Lifeforce at this moment?
I'm drained. I'm spent.
I've been really holding myself back. I want to commend my efforts as well for only giggling slightly under my breath through the entire movie.
Look, we all heard it. It's like Beavis and Butthead. But yeah, I commend you.
Thank you.
I think I did a pretty good job too.
I will still come back to this movie. Think this is one that is a good 5-year watch.
I don't think I had seen it. I for sure had never seen the director's cut, so this was actually pretty cool. Again, I'm just wondering why it did so poorly.
I don't know.
And again, it's just Canon Films. I mean, it was just balls to the wall. Like, what is the craziest shit we can put up on the screen? And that's what we're going to go with.
And they did it.
Exactly.
they fucking did it. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, Jason, why don't you tell everybody where they can find us?
Just go to themoratorium.com if you want to.
Just go there. I think you can actually look it up on a phone.
Oh, yeah. You could use your phone, too. Yep.
On any personal communication device. Hey, and you can find us on all the social medias. You can check us out on Facebook. Our Facebook group is still growing. We haven't been shut down yet. Thank you. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram. Check out our YouTube page. Actually, I have a bunch of links. I'll put a bunch more links up there for Lifeforce and all the extra behind the scenes stuff that I find. Check out the website. I will have the link up to these small documentaries as well.
Very nice.
And, hey, if you feel like, you'd like to help support this podcast, you can do so by going to our Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can help us keep this level of maturity.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to give us a little bit more, for $3 a month, I'm going to start giving you back a little bit extra. $3 a month, you can get our director's cuts to our movie episodes. That's right. I'll be cutting about 20 to 30 minutes out of this episode and saving it just for you. A lot of this is some really good bits that I want you to hear, but I got to save it for our Patreon only.
Yep, sorry.
Go on over, throw us a few bones. We'll throw you some stuff back. Check out. We got t-shirts, cups. We got a new design coming out soon. Hopefully Jason and I will come together and agree on something.
Just like Space Girl and Carlson.
That's
Hug
right.
each other and send our Lifeforce.
That sounded very sincere, though.
Yeah, it was.
All right. Well, let's wrap this bitch up.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
You've been listening to The Moratorium, an MT Cornfield production. Tune in next week when Jason and I try to wash our filthy minds and then just talk about boobs for another 20 minutes. We can't help it. Third grade rules. If you have any movie suggestions, or just want to tell us how much we really suck, you can contact us at moviemoratorium@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and long live VHS.
Yeah, they didn't expect to be like floating through a butthole and looking at space vampires. You're right.